Everybody, this is just a tutorial on how Shanahan's lighting system works and how to start up the lighting system and how to shut it down. So as you walk into the hall, you will see the back doors here, and on this side of the wall you've got your fan controllers, and you've got a little box here which controls Shanahan's lights. So 1 is the current lighting you see, and 0 is to turn all the lights off. These little faders on the side, if you hold up the up button, it'll fade on the sides. And then just a note, if you keep this in down, it'll turn off all the lights. So once you've faded this up, you have to more or less leave it up. You can fade it a little bit down, but too much will turn off all the lights in the hall as well. But as you can see, I did it little by little, and the sides are off again. So that's more or less what you'll need on this panel, is 1 and 0s your main things. If you come in here and it's dark, you're going to press 1. If you want the lights off, you're going to press 0. Now I'm going to show you guys how to start up the lighting board. And just note, once the lighting board is started up, this panel no longer works. The lighting board takes control of everything. So this setup, this startup sequence is quite a bit similar to the startup of the sound system. So you're going to come and unlock all the doors to the top. You're obviously going to check that all your DBs are on here. We can see nothing's tripped, they're all on, and we'll resume upstairs in the box. So as we get here, we're going to use our armadillo key just to unlock the armadillo. You turn it right to unlock it. It's a reverse lock. Lift it up a little bit, turn it backwards. Now you know it's already in lock position, so when you slam it, it'll just lock. Then we just take this key and we put it in this door here, so we don't lock the key in the armadillo ever, because that's going to be a struggle to get the armadillo open. You'd have to get the spare key. So at this point, we're going to come over to the right here. We're going to switch on our dedicated power for the UPS, and then we're going to hit the small button to actually power on the UPS. You'll hear a tick once it comes on. Now we know the whole stage box has power here, and we're going to head over to this side and we're going to flip up these two screens. I keep this piece of polystyrene here to protect the screens. As you can see, somewhere it's already been scratched just before we had the polystyrene. So you always want to keep this piece between the lighting board and the screen so it doesn't scratch. And then same on the other side. We're going to lift it and put these screens more or less together here. Take your two pieces of polystyrene so they don't get chucked away, and put them on the side there. We're going to remove the desk's cover. Okay, and once you've removed the cover, you'll see the lighting board. I do put the little cover on the side. There's no vents there, but don't stick it anywhere around it, because there's vents for this thing to keep itself cool. So your next step will be to go to the back of the lighting console. There's a power here that you're going to plug in, and then at the back there, just below the power, there's a power switch. That gives the power supply power to the desk, and the desk's actual power button is just on the side here, and it is spring loaded, so when you press it, it's gonna power on. But before we power it on, we're gonna go to the side here, and you guys will see there are two cables. The cream one is for the main hall lights, all the lights you see on now, and the blue one, or black, is for your FOH bar, the bar that runs on top there, and all the LEDs on stage. So what we're going to do is, on the back here, the cream wire always goes on DMX2. It's on a separate universe. It's on DMX2, and the LEDs and your FOH bar is on DMX1. So once we've plugged those cables in and you've got that, you've got your power in, the power on there, your two DMX cables in, you're going to hit this little button. You flick it, it flicks back because it's spring loaded, And then we're just going to wait for the desk to power on. It takes a little while, so I will return once we are ready. It's going to go through its startup sequence. Wait, let's show you guys what it does. So once you get to this point, you're going to see the screen on your left has got a few options. The only option you ever really want to use is start server, or unless you've made a mistake, you can power down again. But start server. And then once you get this, there could be another show file loaded from whoever was using the desk before. So what we're going to do is to make sure that we load the HRS master file, which has got all the default fixtures and lights with no additional settings. We're going to go to open play, and then under the file to load, you're going to go down to HRS Masters 2022, and that is the last time we got new lights in the venue, and that is the master file with everything set to 0. And then once you click open on this file, note a few things will happen. The hall lights will go off because the desk is taking control. And then also note that these main hall lights, the ones that run around like this, are all metal halides. So what happens with them is they need a cool down period of at least 5 minutes. So if I click open now, it's going to make all the lights go off. We're going to do that quickly. I'm going to hit open. And as you can see, all the hall lights have gone off now. So these lights, they won't return back on. You have to do the following step. And then after 5 minutes, these metal halides will turn on again. So here on the lighting board, if you look at the lighting board as a whole, towards the right at the top, you have what they call independence. So these independence works independently of this lighting board. You can have anything else set. These will always do what you're telling them to do, regardless of what's set on the board. So 7 is our main hall lights. We're going to switch it on so long. They are not going to turn on because they need the 5 minutes cool down. So keep that in mind when you guys are running a function and everything's dark and you guys do want the lights to turn on. If you see the function is about 3 minutes away from being done, you're going to hit your number 7 and you will see the metal highlights will fade on slowly. Because the whole show, the lights had been off, so they've already cooled down. So they will switch on straight away, but they still take a little while to completely be bright. So the other independence you have, this number 8 here, is the balcony underneath us. That's the lights there. So people doing food might require lights even though the hall's dark. Then you're going to put on your number 8. Number 9 will come on instantly in the center because we use LEDs. So if we press number 9, you'll see they come on. But you'll notice the sides. The lights on the sides are still off. So they're the same as the main hall lights. They're metal halides. They will take a little while to come on. So in the event that you need lights quickly, you're going to press your 9. And then at least you'll have something in the center. Your other independent is your little lights on the side there. They're just normal fadeable lights. So once you turn this, you'll see them come on. So in the event that you maybe by accidentally switched off the light and you need emergency lights, you're going to use number 9 and number 1. And that's going to give you some lighting like that. So it's not dark and people can see. And so that goes through basically all our independents. And then this number 2 here is for, if you look in front, there's little lights on the step and there's a row in front of lights. So you're going to want to turn those on. The steps will come on instantly, and the top, same principle, metal highlights, they will take a while. So in an emergency, you'll press 9, you'll fade up your 1, and you'll fade up your 2. That'll give you this kind of lighting so at least people can see. But once you get used to the system, you start timing things and you figure things out for yourself. So I'm just going to wait for the metal halides to come on, and then we will return and go and switch on the lighting downstairs, so we have function of the FRH bar and the stage. So I just want to show you guys what it looks like. As you can see, as they've cooled down, because we've still got them on mode, they are starting to come on one at a time as they've cooled down. And all of them will eventually switch on. But like I say, in a concert where everything's been dark and they've been off a while, they'll all turn on at the same time. And then if for any reason they are not turning on after a show, all of them are not turning on, or just some of them are turning on, the DB downstairs, as you walk in by the door, contactor 3 would have tripped, and that one you just want to put back on. And as you can see, that front row that I was talking about, also they've cooled down now, they're starting to turn on. All the hall lights are starting to turn on. So also just a note, so if you know you're doing a show and you know the desk is going to power down all the lights, always come way before the time, so you can get past that part of the lights all going off, so you have them all on when the event starts. Okay, so I just want to go over the independence again. As you can see, we are now basically ready to go downstairs, because we've got our main hall on, all the lights are on. As you can see, even the sides here are on now, all our lights are on. That means all our independents are on. So we've got one on full, which is our sides. We've got number 7, which is our main hall lights, running there, running past the front there. Main hall, number 7, 8, under the balcony under us. Number 9 is our center and sides and at the back here. And then we've got number 2, which is the steps and the front row. So anytime you use this desk, that's probably going to be like that. You're going to have all of these on by default. So when you come up here and you start everything up, open the file and automatically switch on 7, 8, 9, 1, 2. Then you know your hall lights are ready to go. So from here, we're going to go downstairs and we're going to proceed to turn on the rest of the lighting system. So we have the FRH bar, and we've got stage lighting. Okay, and as we walk into the stage, I'm going left, because this is where everything works from for the lighting, and we need to switch on the stage lights. It's going to be dark up here. So we're going to go in here, and then on the left here is our light switches. So from here, when you get to this point, you'll see there's your DMX splitter. You'll see your 2 dimmers. We hardly use dimmer 2, so you're just going to focus on 1. So your first steps is going to be to plug in that DMX splitter. So we're going to do that. We're going to grab a chair to just plug them in there. Okay, and as we get here, the wire with the insulation tape on, you'll see it is also the female connector that goes into this male. It is the only one that's like that. All the other ones are males going into female connectors. So now we've got our main wire coming from the lighting board upstairs to the DMX splitter. So what we're going to want to do is, it doesn't really matter where you plug these DMX cables in, but I like to start at a point, and I always put dimmer 1 on 1. So the wire says dimmer and it's 1. So we're going to plug that in there, and you'll see it's got a clip on top and it faces the top. And don't try and force it, but you'll feel it'll just naturally, if you've got it in the right orientation, it'll just, and you can hear it clip. And we're going to do that for the LED lights as well. So number 4 is 1 row. We're going to stick wire number 4 on number 4. Like I said, this orientation doesn't really matter, but I've just gotten into a habit of doing it. So number 4, we're going to look for number 5. Number 5 here is going to go into 5. If you do make a mistake, like I said, the lights will still work. They won't care. It's just a splitter. And then you have this one saying floor If ever it falls out, you just put it back. We don't use that one. And then we'll have one that says FRH bar. That's also floor number 2. So we're looking for we've got dimmer 4, 5. We need number 6 for the LEDs. This cable's got a 6 on it as well. Number 6. I'm going to plug that into 6. And once we've done that, the last cable is your FOH cable. So you'll see it says FOH bar. You're going to take this one, and I normally stick it right at the end, but like I say, it doesn't really matter when it comes to these things. You can stick them anywhere, they will work. It is just a splitter. So the cables you want is your one coming from your desk, your female going into a male, and then your males going into females. And you'll have 6 cables in total going into the DMX splitter. Then you've connected your splitter. So the next step from there is to now switch on your DB board towards the right here. We're going to open it, and this one we're going to turn all of them on, starting from left to right. And then once you've done that, everything's going to now have power. If you look at the top, there go your DMX splitter. Okay, and then from here, your last thing you want to do down here is just go to this dimmer at the top here. This is this dimmer. This controls all the lights on the FOH bar. So we're going to go up here, switch on this dimmer. And to make sure that we've done everything correctly, you guys can check on the dimmer. You can open it here. At the top, it's going to say DMX1. Okay. Then you know you've connected everything properly and the startup is done properly. And then we're going to go over some basics at the top. Just a side note before we run up, because you're going to want your stage lighting to be the most effective as what you possibly can, you want to switch off our lights to the left so that it's dark on stage. When we use our LEDs, we're getting the maximum effect for them. So now we're going to head up and I'll show you some of the basics on the lighting board. Okay, let's go over some of the basics when you guys are on top. As you can see, we've still got all our lighting on. I feel I did go through the independence quite a bit. So now let's just go to the left here where there are 3 master faders set up. So the one, if you do look on the screen, it says FOH wash, which will be your first fader, and that is for the steps. So we're going to fade this up, and as you'll see, the steps light up. And then what I do to give a little bit of general lighting, your second fader is FOH spot, front of house spot. I normally fade them just past halfway, and it gives us a nice light into the stage and on the steps. Okay, so those are your 2 master faders for that. And your third slider here is your LEDs on stage. So you can fade them up, and then as you can see on stage, we've got our LEDs going. From here, if you're running the LEDs and you're running your FOH spots and washers, you might need to, for example, turn off 7 to make the hall a little bit darker, and 9 and 2 and 1. Then you've got a nice show scene with the whole stage being lit up. And then also on here, we're going to take our mouse, and you've got a little mouse pointer here, which you can see. So we're going to head over. What we're going to do is, all these LEDs you'll see, they're all showing F, because they have been faded up with a master slider. So what we can do here is, to get some manual control on them, is fade this down fade the LEDs down. So we're fading the FOH washers, FOH spots, and LEDs back down. So we've got nothing. But now with our mouse, we can move to one LED. So these first 6 are the very back row of LEDs. So now we can go down here. There's a little roller here which you roll up, and as you can see, we're getting some intensity there. And as you roll them up to 100, you can see those first 6 are the front row of LEDs. So then what we're going to do is go back to here, fade them down until the intensity is at 0. We can see they're at 0. And now we're going to go with our mouse, deselect the ones we had, and select the next 6, which will be the middle. And then with a roller, give them some intensity, and you will see that's the center of the stage. Then we're just going to fade with the roller down, and we're going to go and select our next set of 6 lights, and then fade them up. That's going to be a road at the back, so we're going to use our fader again. You can see the intensity modifies as we keep rolling it up, and you can see that is your back row of LEDs. We're just going to fade those down again with a roller. Then what you can do is select, you don't have to select complete rows. We can select, for example, 1 and that one there. You can manually select, you can play around with the scenes, you can get what you need. And let's say, for example, I've selected all those lights. We can fade them up with a roller, and now we've got that. So we can fade them down. You can make cool patterns. We're just going to roll them off, and then we're going to deselect the LEDs we selected. And now what we're going to go over, so what we can do, for example, is we know the first 6 are the front row, the second 6 are the middle row, and the third set is the back row. So we're going to say, for example, we want the first row, 6 lights, and we're going to just fade them up with a roller here. Now we've got them faded up there, but now we maybe want to change their color. So we're going to go down with our mouse here. We're going to take our mouse and go over to color mixer, and now we've got this color wheel, which wherever we drag it is what the light's color is going to be. So I'm just going green. We can go through all of the different colors. That's now just for the front row, so we can do that. And then let's keep that on like a blue. And if we go down to the color wheel, we've released our mouse, our right click, and now it's kept blue. We can now go and deselect the first row of LEDs, select our second row of LEDs, and we can do the same. We can fade them up. Now the phone's losing focus here. There we go. So we faded up the second row of LEDs, and now we can go, it stays on the color wheel, so now we can just go and select that, and we can drag it all the way up to, let's say, yellow, and then go back. We can check on stage, it's yellow. We can go and deselect this middle row of 6 LEDs, and now we can select the last row of LEDs. We can fade them up with a roller again up to full intensity, and we can go back down to the color mixer here, and we can change their color, and we can make it, for example, green. So now if you look at the stage, they've all got their different colors. And now let's say, for example, we do need to get them all back to their home position, and we don't have time to go through each one and make them white again, because you can use the color wheel to do that. I'm just going to go and select them all. Once we've selected all 18 of them. Then there's a little button here just under your independence. You'll see it says home attribute. That takes the lights to the home position, so you press it twice, 1, 2, and then when we look back, they've all gone back to white. And because we still have all our LEDs selected, we can now use the roller and fade them all down to 0 intensity, and then we've got a stage that's 0 again. So this is also just another tip to quickly get hold of the first row of 6, the second row of 6, or the third row of 6. You can go to your little panel here. So we've got all our lights selected there. Now I want to deselect all of them, so I'm going to press 0 and channel ID. So now if we look back there, none of them are selected. But let's say I do now want the first 6 and I don't want to use the mouse. I can go 1 through 6 through, and now if we go back there, the first 6 are selected. But I didn't look at the channel, so it selected the first 6 lights there, and again that's not what we want. We want to select the LEDs, so I'm just going to go here and say 0 channel ID. So now we have to look at the numbers on this first row of LEDs. So it's 51 to 56. So 51 to 56 is what we want. So we're going to go on a little panel here, 51 through 56 through, and it's going to select our first 6 LEDs. Then we can use the little roller again to fade them up, and then we've got our first row again, and that counts for any lights you see on this page. So now we're going to go 0 and channel ID. That deselects all our LEDs, and that's more or less the basics of this board. Yeah, those are the basics, and we will proceed with the shutdown shortly. Okay, so now we're going to proceed with the shutdown of the lighting board and the lighting system. So the lighting board will go off last. We start at the bottom, but just a few things when you are done with the lighting board and you're going to initiate a shutdown, just make sure on this page that all your intensities are down, so that you have it looking similar to this. If there's still people on the stage, you would go down and switch to 2 lights on the side there, come up here, fade everything down, and make sure all your faders are down. And then from here, what I normally do is, remember, you want to keep it on still, so it's still controlling the lights. We're going to head with the mouse over to File and then Power Off. You're going to double click that, and we're not going to click Modify yet. We're going to go there, and then we're going to go downstairs and unplug things there, and then come up and click Modify. So let's carry on downstairs. So as you can see, I'm heading to the left of the stage to turn off and unplug things. So what we do want to do here is go in here, switch on our lights so we can see what we're doing. And then the first thing you're going to do here is our dimmer. So we're going to take our chair, our dimmer that we had put on, we're going to turn the dimmer off first. So we're just going to put that down, and to make sure, you'll see our dimmer's completely off. Then we're going to get over to the right completely to the DB board, and we're going to open that, and we're going to start switching off from the right to the left. Now our whole DB board is off, and you will see on our DMX splitter at the top there's no more little lights, everything's off. So now we're going to take our chair, move that there, we're going to get up here, and if you look right on top of this cable, it's got a little clip that you have to push in and then pull it out, and you're going to slot that in there. And then on these at the top, it's got a little button that you push in this way. So you push it in and pull the cable out. When you've got two hands, you do it quite easily. We're just going to run through all of them, plug them all out. Okay, so now we've got all our cables out. What I tend to do is bunch them together and make sure they stay in there. You never want them to just be hanging down here. So as you can see, all our cables have been removed from the splitter. We do that so that the lightning doesn't take out the splitter or the desk or any of our light fixtures. And that's what you do down here. We're going to head back upstairs and complete the shutdown. So obviously you're going to turn off these lights on your way out. Everything's going to be dark, dark, dark now again, and we're ready to head up to complete the shutdown. Okay, we're back at the top. Before we click modify there, when you finish with any show, you're always going to leave your independence on, because else the hall will be dark. So before you click modify there, make sure that you've got 7, 8, 9, 2 turned up to full, and 1 turned up to full. 1 you could actually turn them off, but at least the main hall lights are still running. And then we're going to click modify, and then you're just going to wait for this thing to completely shut down. It's going to do a shutdown process, and these hall lights will stay on, and the little panel downstairs will take over again. Okay, so as you can see, it's just shut down. So our first step then would be here to come over on the side. You see little buttons that you push in here and here. You'd push it in and pull it out. Push it in, pull it out. Now we know both our DMX cables are out. We're going to go over here. We're going to ignore the power on button, and we're going to go straight to this power supply switch there. You're going to turn it off, and we're going to unplug. Now that's off. We're going to be putting back the cover. Now once we've got our cover back, we're going to go back to our pieces of polystyrene. You're going to stick one on either side on the corners here, and you're going to flip the screens down. I don't want to do it with one hand because I like supporting the screen and the polystyrene to make sure that it's not touching the screen. So I'm going to do that off camera quickly. Okay, now we've done that. You guys can take a look at that. You've got your polystyrene protecting your screens. They both flip down. Now your last step here is to go over to the right to our UPS. Press the big button on top, hold it in. When you hear that tick, all the power's gone off to it. And then we're going to go to our dedicated power switch just above that. Switch that off. We're going to wait for the UPS to turn off completely. There we go. We're going to put our chair back in the armadillo. Set it down if you had set the chair up, so that the armadillo doesn't bash into them. And then we're going to take the strap, pull it with all your might right down, and as it slams down at the bottom, it's going to lock. And that is the shutdown procedure for the lighting board.